what's up? It's Peter Bush from Caffeine and Carburetors back here in the magnificent studios of at 1600 Veloce, also Mechanic Shop North in North Salem, New York. I'm glad to be back once again with Kevin McKay of Corvette Repair, Valley Stream, New York. We reviewed not that long ago a classic Corvette L88, a 69. This car behind us, also a 1969 L88. We'll get to that in a second. But first of all, Kevin, thank you for coming back. It's good to see you, man. Yep. Kevin is, I was just saying to myself, what do I say? If Duntov is the father of the Corvette, then Kevin, you are the man in Corvette repair. So for Corvette restoration, this has been a passion for Kevin for so many years now. I think the business, Corvette repair, in your 33rd, 34th?
37 years.
37 years.
Time flies.
Their attention to detail, their passion for Corvettes is unsurmountable by any other operation. And with that, Kevin has earned so many accolades. His cars have been featured in well over 100 magazine covers. How many cars do you think you've restored? How many Corvettes?
Quite a few, but we have over 1,600 awards. Very proud of that. And like you said, you're always good as your team.
Bloomington, Great Hall, inductee. So everything about Corvette is everything in his life. And he mentions the crew. And I was looking at the video, a couple of videos actually, one of them on your website, CorvetteRepair.com. And you guys have a great relationship, you and your crew. I mean, there's some characters in there.
Yeah, quite a few. But we're a good team. We're like family, and they treat me well, and I treat them well. So it's a team effort.
Why still, after all these years, are you still in this project, in this business?
Well, when I'm at the shop, I stay out of trouble. I just love what I do. I'm very fortunate and blessed between my team and worked on some amazing cars. We have 3 Le Mans cars in there right now from 1960, which is pretty cool. So we're very excited about that. And we have a Z06 tanker in there and a couple of L88s. So we've been very, very blessed, very fortunate.
You can call Kevin the Corvette Hunter. Reggie Jackson, of course, the Yankee great, called him the Mr. October of Corvettes. I'll say you're Mr. Corvette Repair is what you are, hence the name. This particular car is very similar to the one we reviewed last time.
Yes.
427, the so-called 430 horsepower, right. L88. Tell me some of the history of this car. How did this car come into the shop? Obviously, it came through one of your clients.
Yes, a gentleman named Mervyn Croy, a dear friend of mine, probably the #1 Corvette collector in the world today. Yeah. Owned this car for over 30 plus years. Well documented car. I've known the car since the early 80s. It was owned by a guy named M.F. Dobbins, who wrote the Corvette fact book back in the day. It was on the cover of that issue, I remember. And just a great car, a unique car, late production car, open chamber car. One of only a handful that are factory side pipes with an L88, which is quite rare.
Right. What do you mean by open?
Well, it was very late production here. It just, for some reason, that the heads were breathing better and for more power, more performance, and so on. So, they were tested developing those heads back in the late 68, early 69 era, but they didn't come out to regular production until after like mid-April of 1969. And this car is such a late production car that came with it, which is pretty cool.
They were all 4 speeds, right? Muncie rock crushers?
No, they weren't actually.
Really?
There were 99 4 speeds and 17 automatics. And I keep a record survey of all the L88 cars that are out there, and I think I have all 17 automatics on there, and I think I have about 96 4-speed cars on my survey.
So a total production, 68, 16?
116 total.
116 and 69?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. And of course, 68 was the complete redesign of the automobile anyway.
Yes, so there were 80 of those produced at that time.
Right. Yeah. Do they still call it's a Stingray?
It's a Stingray.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it about these cars that garners so much interest? As a matter of fact, we were just talking off camera before. When we put the black L88 out on the market at Bring a Trailer at 1600 Veloce not that long ago, It got that the YouTube video got 13,000 views.
Was that many?
There were
Wow.
well over 150,000 plus of views on Bring a Trailer engaged in that auction
Wow.
on that car.
Amazing.
I think it was the most ever for any car you listed, I would imagine. Yeah. So there's tremendous interest in this. And as we get towards more, electrification, the appreciation of ICE cars, internal combustion engine cars, is just, it's increasing. We're seeing it in marketplace everywhere.
Yeah.
And, they don't build them like this anymore, Kevin. They just don't.
No, they don't.
And that inherently creates that passion. These cars were essentially, well, they were retailed, but really they were specifically meant, right, for the racing community?
Pretty much. Yeah. Basically for mostly off-road use only. People got more familiar with them as it went on. Remember the first year for the regular off-road production of an L88 was 1967. They only made 20 of those.
Right. Yeah.
And they're very
Holy Grail cars.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And by '69, people got more familiar with it. But most people that bought these cars wanted to do one thing in mind. They wanted to go fast, whether it be either on the track or on the strip or on the street. It didn't make a difference.
So in other words, you could go into a Chevrolet dealership at that time, and if you checked the right boxes, you could get an L88. But nobody was saying, "Hey, we have all these L88s. Come buy one." Right?
No. Most sales guys try to turn you away from it because you couldn't get a heater, couldn't get air conditioning, couldn't get power steering wheel.
None in this.
None of that. No, it's just strictly all just horsepower.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they raced successfully not only in road course racing, but some of them ended up as drag racing cars, and this as well, right?
Absolutely, sure, absolutely. The son actually wanted to go drag racing, and that's what he got.
So the current owner had this restored through Corvette repair back to its completely original condition.
Actually, we worked on the car many years ago.
Okay.
Did paint on it, and then it got refurbished by another company later on in life, and then we got it back again recently, and we did a little tweaking on it.
Tweaking. It's stuck.
Yeah.
Okay. But all original, all documented. I mean, this is the real deal.
It is. It's just like the block car.
Right.
All original drivetrain, great paperwork, complete chain of ownership.
Yeah.
All original body panels. It's just one of the best ones out there, no question. And with side pipes.
What was it? Was side pipes an option?
That was an option that year. The only
Was that part of the L88 package?
No, it's not. No. You could have got a small block with side pipes. But see, they didn't have side pipes. They had side pipes in '67.
Yeah.
They didn't have any side pipes in '68. And then they came out sometime in production in '69. Only for a couple of months. That was it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So this car will be on at 1600 Veloce on Bring a Trailer. That'll be coming up in the near future. But in the meantime, let's kind of walk around it. A T-top. It's called a T-top because it really is a Targa. Kevin. That's a Targa. That's a Targa roof. But because Porsche owned the term Targa, hence that's how T-top came to be. When they designed the L88, I mean, in terms of function, I mean, obviously was this aerodynamics, or was this to accommodate the air filter, the air cleaner, the purpose of the bulge?
Well, it was a Cal induction hood, number one. When you see a car like this with a hood on that, you wonder if it's actually a factory car, or maybe they put on later on in life. This is a very common hood today. They make a lot of reproduction L88 hoods. But this was unique for L88, for C3, 68 and 69 only. But it was a Cal induction hood, which is pretty cool. But this is a factory hood, obviously, because it's a factory car. Like I said, had no hit body on it. This is the original hood that was born with the car back in the day.
Did air intake?
Yes.
There?
Yes, it did. It'd be a Cal air cleaner with a
filter
and everything.
Classic hidden wipers?
Yes, well, that's all.
That's all part of it.
Well, from 68 to 1972, had that system.
So 427, aluminum heads.
Yeah. Open chamber.
Open chamber.
Yeah.
Posi rear.
Absolutely standard.
370 in the rear?
I believe so.
I believe that's what
we look at all the paperwork, we can determine that.
So as a drag car, wouldn't you have a higher gear ratio? We
Oh,
have
yeah,
a 411
they
or
might have changed the rear end. I believe this
Right.
car at one time, they took the original engine out, put it over to the side, and they put
Oh.
in a ZL1 motor in here. For weight too, remember, a ZL1 motor is similar to an L8 motor except for the weight. The aluminum block instead of versus a cast iron block that we would have on an L88.
Is it true that the L88 427 430, 430, 430, right?
430, that's correct.
Was that a truck motor?
No.
There was a rumor out there that they took a truck motor and
No.
then put aluminum
Not at all.
heads on it.
Not all. Same block as for a 435 block, but you got
Oh, okay.
11.1 compression versus 12.5 compression. And then you have to use a special racing fuel. You had to go at least, I think, 103 octane or better.
There's a sticker in here that says, don't even think of putting like 92 RON in there. Forget about it, right?
Well, you can, but it's not going to run too good.
It's not going
It's going to ping.
Are they hard to start? No.
Yes, they are hard to start actually because they are a little temperamental. This is no joke.
It's a race car. It
This
really
car
is a
really-
race. Look, it's a race car for the street, right?
It's supposed to be for off-road use only, technically, but people have driven them on the street because they did a lot of street racing back in the day.
Anthony Serra drove the black one for a YouTube video presentation, and he said it was like, ah, you know, I mean, he just knew that this was something very special.
Yeah, you can hear the lope in the cam. You can hear it pretty easy. But yeah, these cars are pretty much factory race cars. They really were back in the day. And most cars like this went to Le Mans, or they went to Sebring, or they went to Daytona. That's what they basically ordered for.
But didn't the '67 L88 win Sebring?
Yes, it did. 1967, yeah. It was one of the.
You know that cars?
I know the car quite well. Yeah. Actually, I was involved in buying that car.
That's why they call him the Corvette Hunter too, because he's tracked down like just. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If you look
Peter,
at his.
I just love the history, Peter.
What?
I just love the history.
He does love the
I
history,
love the
so,
history.
and he's modest about it.
I just love the history.
So I always wondered in the shape was aerodynamics came pretty much heavily into play when going from the C2 to the C3.
Oh,
I mean,
completely different car.
is there a purpose to this?
It's just, aerodynamics, that's what they did back in the day. But when this car came out, remember, there was a lot of test and development on other cars here. If you look at the XP819 car that we had in our shop many years ago, they only had one of those. It's almost the same shape, had the hideaway headlights on it. In fact, we even had a urethane bumper on the XP819 car. And it had that similar look.
Do most of these L88s go into the hands of collectors? I mean, I get the impression that, and they're so well cared for. I don't think any other car is so well cared for and cherished by their enthusiast owners than an L88 Corvette. I mean, these are very special, but do they change hands mostly, collector to collector?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I have. My passions are L88s. I just love the history of them. There's a lot more ordered as factory race cars.
Right.
Great stories behind them, but yeah, they're very sought after. To me, it's one of the ultimate cars to own is an L88. Obviously, a C2 are much more collectible, much more rare, much more valuable. But the C3s, they have hit over $1 million.
Oh, sure.
Matter of fact, we had one car, which was a factory L869,
right,
that we found in a junkyard for $7,000 called the Rebel Corvette.
The Rebel.
$2.86 million.
I read about that. I think one of them came just a few months ago. Was it March? No, I don't know. But one of them traded a C2 traded for, I don't know, $2.7 million.
Yes, that's correct.
So
that was the yellow.
the $3 million mark is possible with a C2, but the $1 million mark is coming.
Yeah.
For
yeah. No, I
select.
know of a handful of these cars, C3s, that have sold for over $1 million.
Okay.
I know that for a fact.
Right.
A couple of my customers were purchased over the years.
In terms of condition and overall score, where do you put this car?
Oh, right at the top, because there's no negativity. All original body panels, original drivetrain, with all the paperwork and ownership history.
Right.
This is what you're looking for.
Yeah. And he can spot them. I mean, he can spot a phony a mile away. I think he smells it or something when he approaches the car. He goes,
Well, we know this car for over
Right.
30, 35, almost 40 years now. I've
Right.
known this car since the early 80s.
when somebody brings a car into Corvette repair, whether it's an L88 or a 427-35 or an LT1, is the first thing. What do you do? The first thing you look at it and say, okay, let's see what's happened over the last 30 or 40 or 50 years, right? You look at it, it's investigative.
Well, it depends who the individual may be. Sometimes I do a thing called a safety check on the lift.
Right,
I check for safety. I'm not too concerned about cosmetics.
Right.
I'm also concerned about make sure it's got original VIN tag, original trim tag. I also check the original drivetrain if it has the original drivetrain in it. Most Corvettes don't have the original motors in them because they were beat to death.
Right.
This Corvette was the #1 car to be stolen back in the 60s and 70s. That were a hot ticket, and a lot of them are gone. A lot of them are gone. So to have one like this that's never been wrecked.
Nowadays, I think the most stolen car is a Honda Civic, but that's another conversation.
We'll go back 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Peter. So, knowing this car has virtually pretty much always been intact and it's always been cared for from day one.
That's gorgeous.
It's really,
it's just amazing.
It's a great piece.
What's the color?
Riverside Gold.
Is that the original color?
Yes, it was, of course.
So you've done the entire restoration on this.
Well, I've worked on this periodically over the years. I cannot take credit for the current paint job on this car. Somebody else can take the credit for that. But we have had our hands on this car. We did paint this car back in the late 2000s. The early 2000s. We painted this car. I remember. Yes, we did. We went back to paint job. But it's been refurbished again.
So everything is up to 100%.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
It's won all the awards already.
Right. And your standards. I mean, his standards are incredibly high. For the next owner, you should know that this is one of the greats. This one really is. We have documentation, don't we?
Oh, we have more than enough